If you follow the news closely, you may have noticed that there have been some big data breaches at some of the biggest companies in the world, including Uber, American Airlines, and even Microsoft. In fact, in the third quarter of 2022, data breaches are on the rise by 70%. Now, to help explain why this is happening, I had a chance to interview Brian Haugli. He's the CEO of a company called SideChannel. Now, they provide businesses with a virtual chief information security officer to really ensure that they have their cybersecurity in place. In fact, Brian's the host of SideChannel's YouTube channel, where he goes into depth to explain some of the biggest breaches that we've had in recent years, including the 2022 Uber breach. And he goes into a really in-depth explanation to explain how basically an 18-year-old kid can infiltrate a company like Uber and bypass their two-factor authentication. And he's kind of like my go-to guy in trying to explain all of the data breaches. And so I really wanted to pick Brian's brain on some of the pressing issues that I have in relation to cybersecurity. You know, I'm always thinking about like the people that are actually breaching companies. And I know you've done experience, you had experience with the Department of Defense. Have you ever looked at the psychology of these hackers? Like, what is their motivation? Is it just money, or is it something else that makes them do what they do and try to find these holes inside of companies and take their data?
There's a lot of different reasons. So from a nation state standpoint, right? Organizations are stood up on behalf of foreign countries that have economic, military directives out there to go attack companies and break in, right? So there's espionage aspects. Yeah. There's just like those, like again, military and economic initiatives. But then you've got criminal groups, right? And criminal groups are motivated by money. And the psychology there is, it's more now, we have to think about these folks more as they have a job. They're not just bored. They're not these rogue single agents out there doing this thing. They're like, I'm just going to make some money. These are well-organized, syndicated businesses. And that's how, honestly, people really need to start thinking about them. These groups that are attacking, setting up attacks, and breaking in, performing ransomware, business email compromise, data exfiltration, these folks are set up like businesses. They have HR, they have payroll. These folks in the DoD, we used to track these folks when they went on holiday and vacation, right? There is a CEO, there is infrastructure, there is leadership, there is recruiting, there is talent management. These people have performance reviews. And it's no longer the days of, you know, some kid in his mom's basement wearing a hoodie. Like those days are dead. That doesn't exist. These are well-oiled machines. Their business is to get into your business. And a lot of people, they just undermine or they just really don't, they underestimate what these folks are doing and as an adversary. And because of that, they're letting their guard down. They're not taking the right reactions. They're not taking the right measures because they're like, oh, it's not a big deal until it happens. And then they're sitting there going, man, I'm on the wrong side of this.
Are they training these people to become these kind of hackers, or are they recruiting people that they have already seen on, say, the dark web that seem to have those kind of skills? How do they get their entire like squad together?
Yeah, so it's, you know, they have recruiting teams, right? They have talent acquisition, and it's a combination. So you'll see actually ransomware gangs break down, and you'll see folks move from one group to another and get recruited. Some folks will, you know, hey, retire, quote unquote. And then, you know, now they're sitting on the North Georgian Sea sipping Mai Tais. You'll see groups get recruited into other ransomware groups and they'll be operating over there. And that's prevalent from either seeing the tactics, techniques, or procedures, what's known as the TTPs. Like, how do these folks act? How do they operate? What code base are they using? Is it being reused? Right. So you'll see this shared. And that's usually because, hey, this guy or girl has a style. They have a methodology. They have a way about them. Yeah. Okay. That they used to be over here. Now they're over at this group. Okay, so they got recruited over. This group broke down and folded shop, and now they're all over at this side. The other way is early on, there was a lot of recruitment out of, especially in the Eastern Bloc, there was a lot of recruitment out of computer science programs and degrees in the Eastern Bloc, right? The Polish colleges kids are coming out of college with these degrees, couldn't get jobs. We had the fall of the Soviet Union. You had these
Yeah.
ex-KGB, ex-Stasi guys coming out who knew how to run teams, motivate people. And now you put them together and go, oh, we got all these kids with talent who know how to
Yeah.
do this work. We got these guys who know how to build and run, motivate teams that are criminals. Let's put them, like, they start getting together. They start building these factions, these groups, and start operating, and they start making money. They start doing kickbacks to whether it's Moscow
Yeah.
or wherever. They're getting protection. So there's like a lot of varieties to how this all comes together. I don't think there's any one specific way that this talent comes through. It's very, very similar to, when you look at North American businesses, how they grow. You recruit out of college, you develop, you grow, or you recruit from your competitors and you grow. It's the same thing. The bad guys operate like sales teams, right? They know where their customer is, right? They're going to target where people are.
Yeah.
And, you just need to be vigilant. And that's, I've had this question. It's like, where's the number one threat for the individual? It's like, it's unfortunately your phone.
Yeah.
And basically everything that comes through your phone.
Yeah.
So, if I can give people advice, if you're going to walk away from this conversation, turn on multi-factor authentication on your bank. Turn on multi-factor authentication on your main email, because those two things are probably going to cut down a significant amount of the risk to you. One, your email is how you usually identify and authenticate now to a ton of different platforms, right? When's the last time you signed into Facebook or Twitter or anything else with your email? You're probably single signing on with your email account. So the control comes back to that. So have full control of that. I mean, think of your email account, your primary email account, like your driver's license or your social security number if you're in the US. Like, you need to secure it just like that. Your bank, obviously, because that's where your finances are, right? So turn those things on, protect those things right there. And just kind of second guess anything that comes through that you're like, that seems weird.
Yeah.
There's no reason that the big thing scammers will do is try to move with speed, because they know that if they can get you thinking quickly and make a mistake, they got you. So slow down, right? We have all this digital presence. We have all of this information coming at us. Do you really need to be able to respond to that Amazon fake canceled delivery on your SMS message like right away? Stop, think, read about it, look at it, before you act.
Yeah.
Everyone's like very just click happy, even when they're just getting these scams. It's like, slow down a little bit. It's okay. Second guess it.
Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask Brian about his thoughts on TikTok, because this is the one social media platform that really keeps me up at night, because I don't think people realize just how much information they're giving away to ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok, which is a Chinese company that, for all intents and purposes, probably works with the Chinese government.
I am kind of vehemently against TikTok as a platform for a couple reasons. There's stories coming out and some interesting kind of data on its usage, its addictiveness, right? And actually their targeting. So in one hand, you've got the entire Chinese government behind this platform because it is a Chinese-based company and owned, which means they have data, they have access to all of that data. So think about that. One, if you have that and they have access to that, what can they learn about individuals, groups of people? I mean, the psychology and the sociology impact, like data mining out of that alone, is incredible. Two, I've heard that where you are depends on what you're shown. So there's different algorithms for different things. So they figured out American-based audiences react to this type of information and react and respond to and interact with this type of information. So we get shown that. Canadian groups may be shown something different. European groups might be shown something different, which tells me that it is not a single platform across the world. It's a targeting platform.
Yeah.
And at some point, that targeting is going to turn around and pay off for them, because they're going to go, oh, I know how I need to show you this information to get this message or propaganda across to you so that you understand it and accept it. Honestly, it's kind of genius, which makes me want to go, this isn't something that I need to be touching. My daughter's not touching, right? Like, you need to be aware of things like that have that type of control and backing of a foreign government and has that much impact and influence on your personal or societal life. So I'm not a big fan.
No, I'm 100% with you. And I don't understand why nobody talks about this, you know? Like they just don't realize. They think it's all funny videos or dance videos, but what's going on behind the scenes is scary. Like you said, they're almost doing A/B testing. They're getting all of this data. And if you think about AI and machine learning, they're going to be able to use that to
Sure.
understand what's going to work and what won't work for.
Well, the last thing is the app itself. Like
Yeah.
when you say and you grant that app permissions to your phone, do you know everything that that app is
Yeah.
now allowed to do on your phone? Contacts,
Yeah.
keystrokes,
Yeah.
time on, when you're moving, where you are. Like digging, and I just don't run that app and I don't run a reverse engineering platform to go, I just can't nerd out like that right now. I don't have that kind of time.
Yeah.
But figure out what that app's actually allowed to go do. It's like we're giving that thing a lot of access to some very, very technical information on our most prized possession, which is our phone.
Do you think governments around the world are taking a close look at TikTok right
Oh
now?
yes.
And because
Yeah.
it just doesn't seem make sense to me that we're allowing this when
I,
we already know what's going on.
I think there's a difference between allowing it and taking a look. Our countries looking at it? Oh, very much so. Very, very much so. What they're probably trying to do is figure out a way to curb that usage and the abilities that they have to kind of get into your life, your information. Um, it's I don't think that's a knee-jerk reaction that somebody can kind of just take. Plus, it's what kind of, I mean, from the US standpoint, because I'm US based, like what exactly could the US government go ahead and do and just say, okay, we're banning TikTok? Or
Yeah.
everyday citizen is going to be like,
Yeah.
okay, well, good luck. It's my phone.
Yeah.
I downloaded it. I want to
Yeah.
use it. And we
Yeah.
don't have any type of, great firewall like China does to be able to block and control data coming in and out of the United States. Canada doesn't have that. No one else has that but China for their citizens. So how are you actually going to be able to block that? I mean, the only ways you could would be you go to Google and you go to Apple and say you have to remove these from your stores and deprecate them, ban them. But I don't see one of those companies stepping up and taking that direction, let alone from the U.S. You would actually need some type of a global thing. Like there's so many ways around people to just be able to go get access to that
Yeah.
tool. It's going to be tough in a long game
You
for
know
the
what,
governments to be able to figure
Brian?
it out.
I think it really is like almost a public awareness so people don't even want to go on it. Like just like in the 80s where they said just say no to drugs,
Right.
they should be just say no to TikTok. And let people like seriously, people should understand what they're signing up for. Like you said, all the keys, most people don't even know that. And when I tell them that, they're like, why? Why would they want that? I'm like, you have no idea how important that data is when they know how many times you check your phone, how long, when you check your phone, what you check first, what you don't check. Why didn't you check that? They try to figure everything out.
Well, you hit it. Like the people you talk to who are using it, they just think it's funny videos
Yeah.
and dance stuff, and that gives people a pleasant and happy reaction, and they get endorphins out of it. And they're like, "Oh, this
Yeah.
is great. I'm going to scroll.
Yeah.
I'm going to see something else funny." As long as they keep getting that feeling,
Yeah.
that's like why the whole war on drugs in the 80s was like the whole don't, just say no. Like it didn't really work.
No.
Why? Because the people who were taking drugs felt really good about the drugs, kept
Yeah.
using them. We can say don't do it all you want, but if the reaction and the output is positive for that person, until they hit that brick wall or end up in the hospital or die, like on the drug side, like they're not going to see what the negative is. So they're not going to be able to determine it. I think this and other social media platforms, it'll be a rude awakening for a lot of people when the bad day comes out of that. And I don't know what that is, but something will come out of this where people just realize, but it's going to be a hard stop.
Yeah.
It's going to be a brick wall that we're all going to hit for us to realize, okay, we've gone too far. This is too much.
Yeah. I'm 100%. I feel like I want to go on a crusade to try to raise awareness to
Let's
people
do
like
it. Let's do it. Let's start one. It's got to
yeah.
start somewhere.
Exactly. And like people, the most, prized possession we all have is our attention. And
Hmm.
these platforms are taking away our attention and people are getting these dopamine hits, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, but it's like at some point in time, we have to stop this. We were not built for this.
Start
And
with your family. We do this when my wife and daughter, we would get out to dinner. Phones don't come out.
yeah,
My daughter doesn't even have a phone, And we look around the restaurant and it's moms and dads looking down while their kids are sitting across from them. It's like the dopamine hit they should be getting is the conversation they should be having with their kids and with each other. And they're not getting it anymore. And that is a problem. And I think society is going to hurt from that for a long time until we all realize that we're all missing out on valuable time we're never going to be able to get back with, our loved ones.
We're going to have to do this again. I really appreciate having this chat. I learned a lot. I didn't know that a lot of the mid-sized companies didn't have even like a strategy for their IT. And breaches are happening more and more. So I think you guys are in a really good space to help a lot of these companies and do it affordably so they don't have to hire a full-time, information technology officer.
Well, thanks for having me on. If anybody wants to find any more about what we're doing, it's SideChannel.com. You can follow me anywhere. Actually, I am on social media. I do a lot of my stuff on LinkedIn using hashtag CISO Life. I do a lot of education, outreach. And yeah, would love to come back on and talk with you. And if you're ever down in the Boston area, come on over to my studio and we'll shoot a video there.
Love it. I love it. We'll have to do that one day.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.